KCSE exam countrywide. A lot of practical exams continuing this week, oral exams as well. But there's something that happened online as President William Ruto wished the over 960,000 candidates sitting the KCSE exams his well wishes. There was a community note on X where someone noted that despite these well wishes from the president, he should tell them that they may not be transitioning to university because of the new university funding model, that about 50% of them might never see a university class. Now, this is the current crop that will be joining university next year. The university funding model still remains a bone of contention. These are some of the burdens that Kenyans are feeling right now.
Yeah, precisely. And really, Fred, still takes us back to the question of preparedness and whether we really put our efforts in the right places. And during the vetting of the CS of Education, I was very keen to look at how the conversation in Parliament would go, and I was really flabbergasted and surprised that even the parliamentarians were not keen to ask the right questions, and probably is because of the kind of context that we were engaging in, coming from the Gen Z demonstrations, and indeed the disquiet among a majority of Kenyans in how the government is running its affairs. And so the lack of even the people who make the policies and the laws to understand the context of what is really on the ground, I think is also quite disturbing. And it is disturbing because, Fred, we have given them the privilege and the opportunity, the honor to represent us. And I know that Kenyans speak to their elected leaders, or at least people who represent them. How hard and difficult is it for them to be able to raise the relevant questions, including concerns around new funding model of education, the number in which the degree of exclusion, you know, the percentage of those who would then be left out, and indeed takes us back to the transition aspects. So if we are not even sure about how many of those learners or pupils or students would be transitioning to grade 9, so how much more of a confusion will it be for us to fail to lack? I mean to lack to plan effectively, because then when Parliament appropriates its budget, even for various you know, schemes like the funding model, different aspects of education sector, I am sure that they rely on numbers. And so the inability for us to be able to have the correct data really dents the levels of preparedness and even the levels of planning, particularly when it comes to appropriation of resources and how those resources are supposed to be used. So there is a big you know, call, and I think it's on this set and some others that I have asked for a national stakeholders conference on education, so that we sit down and ask ourselves, are we on the right track? What are the successes that we have made? What are the challenges that we are facing? And therefore, how do we deal with those challenges? And I don't think that it would cost us much, especially in a country where we have had several conferences to talk about anti-corruption at Bomas of Kenya. And we have not done very well in terms of dealing with the corruption question, and looking at particularly the level at which where we are at now, where our deputy president is facing, you know, impeachment over allegations of part of which is corruption. So if we have spent time and resources, you know, to talk about corruption many days, including those forums being graced by His Excellency the President and big brains around accountability and transparency, then how much more would it cost us, you know, to really want to sit down and talk about education? Because education really, other than agriculture, is the cornerstone, the foundation of this country. So if we have empty brains, it means that we'll be having empty shells.
But now we're staring at the possibility of having at least 2 cohorts of students with a very uncertain future.
Yeah.
Probably totally disenfranchised, that you are sitting for a KCSE exam, but as that community note highlighted, your chances of joining university are no longer guaranteed. Previously, you had a guarantee once you perform very well or well enough in your KCSE exams, you will go to university. Now it's no longer a guarantee.
The government even used to pay people to go to university, you know.
Now it's no longer a guarantee.
It's not a guarantee. And hence really looking at what would happen to other streams of higher education, for example, the TVETs, and even private universities. Yeah, you know, so that we look at in the event that public universities from government's vision is not promising, because it is not a guarantee that you will go sit, score, and even the investment of scoring in schools today is also dented, because you're not sure whether it is you're being scored based on CBC or being graded based on, you know, the grades. Like I'm sure you and I and others were graded based on whether you scored an A or a C plus or a D minus, or you didn't sit for exams. And so that really used to be a very, motivating factor, that I want to study very hard and score very high marks, then I get into a university, and then maybe in future, God willing, I get a job, a good job, and I become a meaningful person in society. Today, as you said, it is not a guarantee that one, you will get good grades.
And even if you get good grades, you might do something.
You might, exactly, and that you will go to university and that you will even get that job, because there is a lot of confusion, Fred, and that is why, for me, I believe that it is important that, especially from the level of the presidency, the president, as again was noted in that community note, needs to be this inspiring leader. He needs to encourage, learners. He needs to, at least, even in his speeches, present certain corners of courage, encouragement, and inspiration, so that people know that, yes, I will sit, and when I finish my exams, I'll go to university. After university, I can get a job. Because many confusions again, Fred.
Which university? We are looking at a situation where one of the biggest universities in Kenya has been shut down. Moi University. Moi University.
Okay.
And you wonder, why are all these things happening now? Even as a government, as an administration, they should be worried that everything would